All right, so today I thought we would take a look at the World's Fair of 1900 in Paris, France. Now, this is kind of a cheesy documentary, definitely very academic, but the imagery was going so fast through the video and the documentary that I wanted to point out some of the, honestly, as an architect and designer, some of the irregularities with the narrative and really just what I know about objective feasibility, right, of construction. Now, don't get me wrong, I've looked up to these buildings my entire schooling as well. In fact, for a majority of it, it was kind of the awe inspiring story of, look what we can achieve in 2 years. And if we really just put our brains together, we can make really great things. And the more and more I started to look at the old footage in the past and really the architectural story, so critically thinking about, what does it take to make these buildings? How many people do you have to feed? How much metal do you have to move? All these things, of course, go into the planning of construction. So I definitely wanted to point out some of the BS that I would definitely just blatantly call. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Exposition.
So dramatic.
On April 15, 1900, the French capital launched the biggest World Fair ever assembled.
And again, I just want to point out that a majority of this video, we're going to get a lot of CGI illustrations, but we're going to get some old photography and video as well, which is definitely something to point out. We see that this is actually more like a factory right now. Interesting enough, maybe producing power of some kind. We get a depiction of absolutely, sort of even blurred out everything except for the exhibition component. And that's definitely something we do diagrammatically in architecture.
Spread over 216 hectares, 83,000 exhibitors from around the world were invited to showcase their most amazing achievements. It was the largest celebration ever put together in France.
And one of the first things I want to point out, just how interesting the people look to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's obviously black and white. They could have different colors, but, you know, it is odd to me where did all these people come from if we're told that there was low populations in the early 1900s, and it's just altogether very odd to me, especially when we look at the architecture in the background, looking not brand new per se, not necessarily broken or demolished in this instance, but just want to point that out, the behavior of the people as you watch.
France.
The World Fair was like opening a huge toy chest. It was
Like, let's take a look at that, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, we're told that this was made in 3 years, and well, all of these people are wearing the same thing, but you know what? Our architecture, let's dress it with the most ornate things. We got like, a style here, we got a style there, we got a lighthouse, right? We got all these flags, we got all these spires, we got horses this twice the size as people, Don't get me wrong, it's like a Disney World right here, but to think that it was done in 3 years in a time with limited construction and supposedly limited people and population is outrageous to me, especially when you look at the level of craft and detail of some of these styles. I mean, absolutely wild and bonkers. And to be fair, some of this it doesn't, right? I mean, that just looks like it could be built, right? And that maybe they did. Whereas some just look absolutely founded and actually overwhelmingly huge in terms of the surface area and the amount of stuff, material that would go into this doesn't match, right? Doesn't fit yet.
It was a mix between a modern-day amusement park and a science and knowledge fair, showcasing French industries.
Visitors had access to a Ferris wheel and a huge telescope.
I want to point this out too, because I think a lot of people at first glance would think this is a real photo, and I think upon looking at it a little bit more, you'll start to tell that it was either some sort of AI regeneration of a photo or something is completely off because we have this, this old world telescope, funny looking technology, hilarious actually. I mean, we don't know if it's underground, if it's above looking. I mean, where's it looking? Right? I mean, anyway. In our case, I think you can actually look this up, and we're told that it's looking across the Earth, right? That's going to be kind of hard if it's supposedly a ball. But in this case, you got these almost looks like Photoshop, something I would do in my architectural renders. You got the black and white people over here looking really mixed and matched and out of place. Um, just altogether very odd, somewhat polished, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks like somewhat polished, but you have these exterior lights everywhere, yet daylighting, something just altogether very odd. The large scale paintings over here that I wish I could make out. But again, altogether looking like CGI. I mean, we got an underground area over here. It altogether very odd. Like if you're gonna build a telescope, why in the middle of a room? And why with all these? I mean, again, maybe for autofocus or some sort of focusing apparatus ability, but my goodness, the scale and planning of this in 3 years, I would be amazed just in this picture alone, this architectural feat that this would be. Let's continue.
They could also attend hundreds of parties,
Another illustration.
balls, and symphony
Another illustration. My God, the scale. Hundreds of party bells and symphony.
concerts during the exposition that ended up lasting 212 days.
All of this, unfortunately destroyed, at least the 3 times that I've been in Paris for my architectural studies, actually. Wondering where some of these other iconic buildings are and why they got rid of them.
Each World Fair hosted by Paris has left an invaluable heritage to the city, as evidenced by the Palais de Chaillot in 1937 or the Eiffel Tower in 1889, year of the World Fair that preceded that of 1900. This particular celebration had been a huge success and attended.
Again, kind of looking more like a factory. And I get it, it's just an illustration. They can take away whatever. This building completely gone, right? I mean, they left this wing and that wing, but why even get rid of the middle? I've always kind of guessed that that image that we just saw previously, that was of course that building. But again, altogether looking more like a factory to me than some sort of exhibition, yet being portrayed. I mean, what an excellent way to brainwash everybody across the earth. Come in, hey everybody, come take a look at this technological feat and the wonderful art, and look what we did in 3 years. Altogether, kind of believable if you never had a radio or TV, right?
Attended by some 28 million visitors.
Another illustration, beautiful one.
The 1889 World Fair impressed the Western world as well as the rest of the planet. It was marked by the construction of the Eiffel Tower.
And I do want to point this illustration out because it is a pretty famous one, at least in architecture circles as well. But again, he's pointing out that, yeah, they keep having these great World's Fair guys. And I just want to point out that this is actually something we do in architecture diagramming today. For instance, we'll take, we already built or designed the model, right? So we'll take it and actually start to remove parts in order to reveal, certain aspects or layering components of the building construction, right? And quite literally either delete them or erase them with, some sort of tool. And what I'm saying is it's not outside the realm of possibility, that clearly if you play this the other way, it'd be very easy to make it look like construction when quite literally you're just erasing. I mean, quite literally what's just in the photo. I mean, and adding a cloudy background, again, altogether not seeming like concrete evidence to me, especially with a critical mind now, taking a look at this imagery.
Eiffel Tower, which soon became the symbol of Paris.
Watch a TV series.
Again, how easy. Look, just erase it, man. No scaffolding required.
Or a movie set in Paris, and at one point the characters will stand in front of the Eiffel Tower. It's clearly the city's calling card.
Yet we're told in academia they didn't even want it. It was temporary. Seriously.
Competing with the prior fair proved to be a challenge. Therefore, instead of betting on a single monumental construction, the organizers decided to erect a multitude of buildings around the capital that can still be enjoyed to this day. Starting with Gare d'Orsay, located on the left bank of the Seine River. Today, it is one of the most famous museums in the world.
And yeah, of course. I mean, you got it at two different levels. You got it looking like it's sunken in. And this definitely does not look like a temporary structure. I don't even think a kid would be like, yeah, temporary, even as soon as they learned the word of what that was, my goodness, what do you even need this up here for? And that's another aspect of this that I don't think is even touched upon in this documentary is the airships. I mean, they're talking 26 million people in a couple of months arrived at this location, not to mention like the underground railway system that, of course, this was. But I just want to, point that out. Like, again, temporary?
World. This impressive 70,000 square meter building houses thousands of
God.
paintings and welcomes over 3 million visitors annually. Very few people know.
And take a look at this. You just built this amazing building, this train station with electric trains for the first time, with ginormous scale and proportion, like the doors, some paintings on there. Look at that guy. He's not even close, dude. How to even get up there? By the way, this amazing floating clock that seems to be attached to the wall wirelessly in a way. But yeah, don't mind us, the luggage, and that's been just go straight through the architecture. Yeah, no big deal. Looking super like it was put there, right? Like maybe they found, oh hey, we got this elevator technology, or to be fair, that even looks like it could be constructed relatively easily versus this gigantic building with enormous ornament and detail. But again, just looking out of place, right? I mean, why even this temporary structure? Because this is definitely not there. This is, of course, a museum now. And I've been very fortunate to go here many times, always staring at this clock and marveling just how large it is, honestly, and how wonderful it still looks, by the way. Again, all of this just seeming so out of place now with a critical mind.
Know that this museum dates back to the World Fair of 1900 and that it was originally a railway station. Certain symbols, such as the huge clock or the impressive pillars, remind us of what it used to be. Back in 1900, the organizers expected a massive turnout thanks to the advent of the railway.
The train was a good way to attract visitors from afar. Many foreigners attended the World Fair of 1900, and they needed to reach the heart of Paris, or at least.
Yeah, I mean, what a good way to explain all those trains if they were previously there in the first place. Again, something that you would feasibly have to construct first. I don't think a lot of people understand, maybe even these guys understand that those things would have to be done first. You don't go around them in construction, especially one as perfect as every single one of these.
Close enough to the center.
Visitors came from everywhere in France and all over Europe. They came from cities, small towns, villages, and even the countryside.
Yet Paris
Looking completely out of place and, well, yeah, sure, maybe seeing this for the first time. We don't know. I don't know. Nobody's looking up. Nobody looks like they're absolutely excited or pointing with their arms. Maybe it's not a cultural thing. I don't know. But again, a lot of stuff here. Don't get me wrong. They even call it an amusement park, but what is going on here? In certain buildings and aspects. I mean, you got this style going on versus that style over there. A gigantic Ferris wheel. You got again another tower when we're told that this is supposedly the largest thing in Paris right now. uh, Again, just with a critical thought, what's going on?
was not ready to accommodate so many people. It was decided to expand Gare de l'Est and Gare Montparnasse.
Temporary, really?
But
Maybe. And again, that looks like it's been there for a while, dude. That looks like it's actually broken down. It almost looks like there's gates on there. I don't know. That could be just me. But a lot of strange anomalies going on here. Of course, we looking more like a factory or producing something here. With from what I can tell, at least in this shot, looking like a triangle building. And again, this just very odd structures, grayed out skies. It always seems to be a foggy day when a picture's taken, but again, could be some of the camera anomalies. So not gonna rule anything out.
this was insufficient.
Also, keep in mind, look how fast these pictures are going by. And I do want to point out something like this because, in 2 seconds to look at it, it does look compelling, but, right away, I see something that's just odd to me, like almost like it's brushed. Quite, and to me, like, who's to say that could be an airship? If this was, in fact, maybe a construction photo, but why even take that out? I mean, why not just talk about the Hindenburg crashing and we no longer use airships? I mean, why take them out at all if that even be the case? But again, cranes looking like they can't even reach some of the elements here. We got one, two, three, four, maybe a lot going on here. And again, really the river looking more like actually a demolition project to me. Things looking a little out of place. And again, drawn with some hard lines. And again, it could be scan anomalies, archiving. A lot of stuff happens when you archive this stuff or in the conditions that you get them in. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll give the benefit of the doubt in some places, but again, how easy it would be to just draw it out, right? A complete building here, and I just draw and make it look like it's under construction.
As visitors needed to be brought directly to the heart of Paris, close to the attractions.
The World Fair of 1900 gave the opportunity to build two very important railway stations. Gare de Lyon served the southeast of France all the way to Italy. And since Gare d'Austerlitz was far from the center, it was decided to bring the trains closer to the heart of Paris, which is why Gare d'Orsay was built.
Again, just look at the scale of this. That is phenomenal. We're I'm speechless. I'm without words. You're looking at, oh yeah, guys, we've got a steamboat. Meanwhile, you know, technically speaking, this is so much more ambitious, technologically incredible to even make and get glass, let alone just one of these windows, let alone all of them. Yeah, the boat is seeming like actually pretty easy compared to this right now.
The station was built on the ruins of the Palais d'Orsay, an administrative building that had burned down during the Paris Commune in 1871. The worksite,
Again, looking more like demolition or cleanup rather than construction.
along the Seine was massive, yet the station was erected in less than 2 years. The impressive structure sprung up, measuring 173 meters in length.
Just want to point out, even the animators couldn't even get the street level changes right for this building. And I don't get it, low budget, render cheesy trees and stuff. I get it, but I mean, you can't even do it there. What makes you think you can do it in reality?
And weighing 12 tons, 1.5 times the weight of the Eiffel Tower. In order
Again, kind of another odd one to me when you look at the scale of these people. By the way, not looking like construction again, looking like demolition, looking like actually shielding the public from looking at stuff, looking like rusted out, metalwork on some of these facades, like they've been there for years. Again, the city looking not new. And again, photo anomaly, I don't know, but these are ginormous, by the way. They look like just regular bricks, especially when you view them in 2 seconds. But meanwhile, they're not. They're actually an enormous scale going on here. So just altogether very interesting.
In order to link Gare d'Austerlitz to the new Orsay terminus, a new 3,650-meter line was built. It had the unique feature of running underground along the Seine.
Of course, just underneath the water line. No big deal. Easy task in 1900. Gotta have, Statue of Liberty in there. That makes it legit. In our community, some of us definitely know what um, that symbolizes or even maybe refers to.
The split level ground floor still found in the museum today can be explained by the way the trains entered the station.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, again, evidence that the train was here first. And you almost see it somewhat darkened out. Supposedly, we got lights here. We got all these lights. Yeah, this place is lit up. I've been here before, not of course at this time period, but this looking temporary. This actually does look temporary. Look at it. Looks like cheesy construction, not even close to the symmetrical, wonderful quality that we're getting here. And we're told that they're built by the same people. Get real.
Station.
In 1900, the trains came in under the station. They followed the Seine through a tunnel, through which they moved by electric traction. This method replaced the usual steam engine.
Look at this thing. An absolute electric technological wonder in 1900. So is technology going backwards? Seriously. Do we not care or something? And honestly, as a designer, I'm sitting here thinking, what happened? Why? How did this get lost?
Engine that would have released too much smoke.
Again, this temporary construction inside of what looks like permanent construction. And cheesy, why would you even put the luggage cart through these major components anyway? It doesn't make sense.
The lack of smoke allowed the interior of the station to be airy, painted in light colors, and covered by a
That's, of course, an image of what it looks like today, by the way.
glass roof bathing the place with light. The surface area equaled 30,000 square meters, the equivalent of 4 soccer fields.
No big deal, guys. We got 3 years.
It was a huge glass roof that covered the platforms. And even though these were located further down, the visitor was greeted in the most spectacular way.
God.
Upon arrival at
And people just looking at a place. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of them. And, they're just kind of huddled together. Everybody's shopping at the hat store. The same guy making millions off hats or something. Again, it may be the time period. I'm not from here. I do visit Paris pretty often and I'm fortunate to do so. But for a gigantic new place, you think one guy, one person would be looking and pointing at the amazing statues and structures that they're looking at. They look like they've seen them every day. And they look old. My goodness.
arrival at this brand new station, visitors headed towards the
Oh yeah, just mud everywhere else though. No big deal.
entrance of the World Fair. It was only a few hundred meters away, further down from the Champs-Élysées on the Place de la Concorde. 120 years ago, this is where the public would start their visit by going under a spectacular, gigantic door.
You're telling me, dude. Dude, I just want to point out something. Does that look temporary? Just ask yourself every time you see an old world photo, and especially of the World's Fair, look at the scale of the people and ask yourself, is this temporary? That looks like honestly, a musical genius design. I'm like a wishbone level forms with what appears like technology. And don't get me wrong, some of these are actually black and white photos, but then will be actually painted on, or in our case, in our day of age, even AI colorized. But again, ginormous flags going on. I mean, we're talking so much textile work here. We're talking so much crap. I mean, Jesus. Crowned towers, obelisks everywhere. What a structural feat, by the way.
Built in a mere few months before the grand opening.
And again, you might be thinking, like, well, there you go, Chris, Flat Lloyd. There it is. It's being constructed. Oh, okay. Well, terribly, by the way. You're talking level of construction here. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I could draw that, pretty convincingly for you. But again, the level of of construction here. I mean, we got a ladder here that doesn't even go all the way up there. And you're telling me they're like working at the top and working at the same time, guys. Just knocking them out. And to be fair, I could just take a picture of what's already there and draw quite literally on it. So to me, it's not conclusive evidence of it. Well, there's a scaffolding. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's compelling. It is interesting, right? Especially when you start to look at it, like, why is it so bad? But then, like, perfect curve, and why don't we see the same wishbone curve form that it's actually this underlying structure? I don't know. We don't get that in the previous photo, right? That connection across. But don't get me wrong, we can do a lot with concrete. We can do a lot with plaster. I'm not saying humans are not skilled, wonderful beings, but dude, the ladder doesn't even go up there, right? And you're telling me at the like, how'd they get to this part? Uh, anyway, just not making sense.
The monumental door rose 45 meters high, the equivalent of the
And really, I mean, why doesn't there anomalies in the other parts? We only ever get them, at least in this photo. And again, maybe the scan, the archiving, but again, just some strange stuff. And this definitely not looking temporary whatsoever. And of course, in that scaffolding, we didn't even see any of this part yet. Not to mention, what are you doing? Lifting this whole thing up there? Are you carving it up there? Are you molding it up there? It's pretty incredible.
the Statue of Liberty. It comprised 3 great arches, each 20 meters wide and covered by a dome.
No problem.
It looked like a helmet or an upside-down tureen, with 3 arches sitting on pillars, like some sort of tiara, and it served as the main entrance to the exposition.
Now, this is a good example of like some of the old film that they then paint over or use AI. But I mean, look at this statue, guys. What is that? I mean, what are we looking at here? Um, for us in architecture, a lot of things that we'll do, we'll start to simply count objectively what's going on. Three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We see an increase of 50%. Like we can make an objective reality about a lot of things that we do see, right? But when you do start to count these things, they start to look like light bulbs, and we're told that they even lit up at some of the buildings lit up in these World's Fairs, and you're thinking the technological feats that some of these things that we can't even seemingly do today or don't even care to, right? I mean, so odd to think that a generation would change so drastically. But again, these people looking like what we would do to it today, just kind of passive, just not even, I mean, I'd be sitting in the middle looking up, going, wow, right? This is incredible. How did they do that? I'd be walking around the entire structure, maybe even talking to a stranger about some of the things that I see. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a trained architect, but nothing, none of that being seen here. And again, just looking so mismatched. Like, don't get me wrong, if I make a statue, usually I make it to scale or I'm making something to scale. And, we're told about giants of even during these times.
It had over 50 counters where the visitors would buy their tickets. It was one of the main highlights of the exposition.
40,000 visitors passed through this door every hour. And as they went through, they discovered an unknown and captivating world.
With the purchase of a ticket, the visitor felt something that is hard to conceive today. They held the key to an extraordinary world. Television and radio didn't exist yet. People were a lot less informed than we are today. And so they were entering a world of discoveries. They were amazed. It was a feeling they had never felt before in their entire life.
I mean, what a great time to brainwash the public. I mean, seriously, the stuff not looking new, and how easy it would be to, I mean, just explain the story afterwards, too, after these people have passed away. Just this is what happened, guys, right? Don't really look into it. And to be fair, you wouldn't even get this story unless you became an architecture major. You know what I mean? So I do think the common person just kind of takes it on, base value. Like, yeah, a great building. We cared a lot back then and we don't now. And, maybe even this death cult kind of mentality going on here as well. When to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm absolutely optimistic. And they still do the same things that these lessons did to me when I was in school. They felt me with like actually ambition and inspiration rather than, what they actually do now. Like, wait a minute, somebody's, you learn about WW and WW this, you know, being involved, and it's just, you start to realize that they're actually taking away. We're not adding. And what we are adding um, is rightfully so much more ugly and not the same level of beauty that we're seeing here. We don't even know what we're looking at. We know it's beautiful. That's how beautiful it is.
After purchasing a ticket, visitors entered a Paris that was altered beyond recognition.
Yeah, you're telling me, look at this thing. And again, nobody even like phased.
Its architecture had been transformed specifically for the World Fair.
Sure.
As they walked along the Seine, the visitors saw two huge palaces facing each other, the Petit and the Grand Palais.
Yeah,
To
sure.
this day, they still contribute to the splendor of the.
It's kind of weird. They don't get like into the construction of some of them that they're talking about in this documentary. I mean, I get it. We could talk about like literally days for each and every single building. Not to mention they have like different symbols all around them. And actually, I'll be here soon, exploring the city, fortunately, and hope to add some video actually to this episode on this one.
Of the capital, now classified as historical monuments. With a surface area of 14,500 square meters, the nave of the Grand Palais is the largest glass roof in all of Europe.
Yeah, no big
Its
deal.
sheer size and the space it offers
Think about that. It still holds the record.
are exceptional. The nave is the biggest covered scene in Paris. It's the biggest there is. You can't imagine anything bigger.
They're not even
Both
believing.
palaces were erected specifically for the World Fair of 1900. They were built in only 3 years, which was a technical and architectural feat in and of itself.
No.
However, from the very beginning, this
Again, looking more like a demolition project.
project was hindered by tremendous difficulties. The first problem was the proximity of the Seine. The clay sand ground was very unstable and couldn't support the future buildings. In order to reinforce the land, architects decided to use stilts. For 6 months, by day as by night,
Dude, 6 months? Dude, where can I get these guys? Knocking them out. Just piling a gigantic old timber. Yeah, no big deal.
total 3,400 oak stakes were sunk 10 meters deep, one after the next.
Wooden stakes were sunk deep into the ground in order to compress the soil and increase its bearing capacity. And then stone foundations.
True, of course, right? But again, an illustration after illustration. Why? I mean, that would be quite the picture. Seriously, be a great picture from the inside, from the outside. I mean, you'd think there'd be tons. There'd be stories about like the little parts that failed at some point. I mean, you saw the rivets on that column. There was like 1,000 on each one.
Were built over that.
Concrete was poured over these stakes to strengthen the ground.
But again, actually not making sense again. We all know that we start with the foundation. But again, we see actually the scaffolding kind of just everywhere. Again, just sticking out, not making a whole lot of sense. Ladders that don't go up all the way, little train tracks, and these moments of just kind of nobody else around. It's very odd to me where it actually looks like it's being maybe repaired more than anything. You got this guy sitting way below some sort of shed. This again not going up all the way, and they even say it themselves. This architectural feat.
Once the foundations were laid, the walls could be built. But the construction lagged behind, as the organizers took several months to appoint the architects in charge of the project.
And I maybe want to end it here for today on such a good teaching moment of critical thought, right? I mean, we take a look at this image and right away, if you can read demolition, demolitions to the left, right? And yet we're being told point blank in the video that it's a construction photo. I mean, don't get me wrong, look at the horse and wagon here. Is he entering with new bricks or is he exiting with like what looks like rubble? To be fair, and some of this actually looks broken, right? I mean, like it was hurt, um, got ruined in some case. Maybe it's being cleaned up. You got these dirt, you got stone kind of just wedged in between, holding up the fence. And yet, yeah, but make sure you focus your craft and energy on this. Uh, bro can't even build a fence, let alone a safe rail. And quite literally, point blank in your face, says it twice, demolition. So not making a lot of sense. And it looks like there was a previous building actually here. Maybe some of these buildings were actually maybe even bigger. It's hard to say. And don't get me wrong, some of this, again, looking more like an illustration, like a painting. And what do you think we practiced in academia in terms of painting is how realistic we can paint using, scientific characteristics that we know about reality in order to achieve the reflections and all those sorts of things that we can do really well. It's almost as if they were training people to make imagery, something I do myself and do very well in Photoshop and all these kinds of things, manipulating in order for marketing and selling an architectural idea. So it goes without question to me that this photo is speaking for itself, showing you quite literally the destruction, the demolition, quite literally being carried out in this photo. So again, to me, I didn't even see this while I was in school. There was something in the back of my subconscious definitely telling me that, take a closer look at this because something is definitely not adding up. So I definitely wanted to start some episodes, like many others that I see in the community, doing this so well and being able to at least speak and point out some of the anomalies and at least in a professional architect standpoint, I think is important, especially as more and more people are starting to talk about the imagery that's coming out. So until next time, this has been the World's Fair 1900s in Paris, France, and we'll talk about some more next time. Thanks.